All right, Rabbi say good. Ooh, that is strong. All right, good morning, Rabbi say good morning. It is good to see everyone. Baruch Hashem. Let us begin. Begin by thanking all of our sponsors for this morning's shir. To thank our Talmud Torah sponsors for the month of Tafshin Pei Hey, the Tilson family for dedicating all the Sherman Drushos this year as a zechus for Besoros Tovos for Am Yisrael and Emir Hashem for their mishpacha. Talmud Torah sponsors for the month of Tishrei, Dr. Linda Weinberg in memory of her husband, Dr. Paul Weinberg, Paris Moshe ben Avram David, Avram and Shindy Kelman in memory of their parents, Jerome and Bernice Kelman and Alexander Frederica David, and our Week of Learning sponsors, Tzvi and Shindy Shir, in the scope of Refuah Shalema for Tinok ben Miriam. We hope to have the merit of our Talmud Torah. All of the Neshama Slav and Aliyah, the families Zein Nechama, and Halavai B'Shavizol Chemer Hashem to the return of our hostages, the success of our holy soldiers, B'chol Ma'aseh Yadayim, and truly Besoros Tovos and Shalom for all of Am Yisrael. Well, so with that, let us begin. Today's daf is Kuf Yud Ches 118, and we are picking up Emir Hashem on the top of Kuf Yud Ches. We left off yesterday, second line down from the top. Probably So just remember again, we are still immersed in this dramatic and riveting machlokes about how Eretz Yisrael was divided up. We're not going to get resolution on that today. We're going to continue. It's going to continue for the next little bit, but I promise resolution will come. I can't say that about all of life's issues, but in Meretz Hashem for this one, resolution will in Meretz Hashem come. So remember again, we had a three-way machlokes as to how the land was divided up. Rabbi Yoshia, who said that it was divided up in accordance with the people who left Egypt, Yotzei Mitzrayim. Rabbi Yonasan, who says by Aretz, so it was divided up amongst those who came into Eretz Yisrael. But even according to that approach of Rabbi Yonasan, remember there was this interesting idea that it was divided up amongst those who entered into Eretz Yisrael, but then it kind of went back into the pot of Yotzei Mitzrayim and was then divided like that. Rabbi Shimon Elazar was of the opinion that it was both. It was both. If you were a member of Yotzei Mitzrayim, then ultimately you got a portion like that. If you were a member of Bai Aretz, you got a portion like that. And if somehow you were some of those unique few who were both Yotzei Mitzrayim and Bai Aretz, you would get a portion like that. We then subsequently learned about the idea that certain people forfeited their portion in Eretz Yisrael, which we're going to come back to today, yes, in today's daf. The Meraglim, the Mislonim, the complainers, we're not exactly sure who those people are, and ultimately Adas Korach. So again, with that, let's begin. According to the opinion who says that Eretz Yisrael was divided up amongst those who left Egypt, so this makes sense. So let's remember again, this whole conversation began because of the daughters of Tzlafchad, who approached Moshe Rabbeinu and said, it doesn't make any sense, right? Lamani Gara, why should we lose out? Our father died without sons, right? It doesn't make sense. We should inherit his portion. So the Papa says something very interesting. The whole story of Benos Tzlafchad makes sense if you assume that the land was divided up amongst the Yotzei Mitzrayim, those who left Egypt. That's why Benos Tzlafchad say, why should we lose out? In other words, our father had a portion as the Yotzei Mitzrayim. While it's true that he did not leave behind the son, we, his daughters, or something should happen. They didn't even necessarily go ahead and tell Moshe what should happen, but they just said to Moshe, why should we lose out? But according to the opinion that says that the land was divided up amongst those who entered into Eretz Yisrael, why would Benos Tzlafchad have a taina, right? In other words, they wouldn't have a claim, because why wouldn't they have a claim? Their father was dead. There was no one to inherit. So we'll see here very interesting ideas. So therefore the Gemara is bringing up the entire story with Tzlafchad must be a proof to the fact that the land was actually divided up among Yotzei Mitzrayim, because then Tzlafchad would have had a portion. Then the girls would have claimed, why should our father's portion ultimately disappear into the ranks of Klal Yisrael? But if you hold that it was divided up amongst the people who inherited the land, so okay, unfortunately, Tzlafchad didn't merit to come into Eretz Yisrael, but he didn't have a portion, to which the Gemara says, Amay Tzlafchad, halesa delishkol, el lechazara v'lital b'nichsei chefer. No, because again, remember the Gemara says, going back, even if you hold that the land was divided up amongst those who went ahead and those who entered into Eretz Yisrael, but remember again, then there was that retroactive repooling of everything. So according to that, they still should have gone ahead and acquired. Why? Because remember again, Tzlafchad was the son of Chefer. Not only that, as we've established, what Tzlafchad was a Bachar. So he had Pishnaim. So even if technically speaking, the members of Tzlafchad's extended family went ahead and inherited inherited when they entered into Eretz Yisrael, that should retroactively be pulled back to Chefer, and therefore the girls were claiming, were claiming that they should have a right in Chefer's portion, right? And again, or in their father's chilik of what would have been Chefer's portion. Okay, so so according to the opinion that says that land was divided up amongst those who left Egypt. Okay, so this is very interesting. So now we're switching gears a little bit. So when Yoshua leads Klal Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael, so Yoshua is approached by the tribe of Yosef. Really, it's the tribes of Yosef. But there, he's approached by Yosef, and Yosef complains. Why did Yosef complain? V'ayidabru b'nei Yosef. Now, the rest of the pasuk is V'ayidabru b'nei Yosef es Yoshua lemor Madua nasata li nachal goral echad v'achevel echad. So something very interesting. The Yosef, right? Menashe and Ephraim, the tribes of Yosef. Yesterday's Ushpizin. So the tribes of Yosef ultimately experienced exponential growth between the time that they left Egypt and came into Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, again, so Yosef goes ahead and approaches Yoshua, representatives of the tribes of Yosef, come and approach Yoshua and they say, it's not right. You're giving us one portion of land, but Kenai Nahara, we have grown significantly as a tribe. So this taina makes sense. In other words, their complaint makes sense if what? If the land was divided up amongst those who left Egypt. That would have meant that Yosef would have received a portion in accordance with their size when they left Egypt. So now it makes sense. Now when they're coming into Eretz Yisrael, they say, Yoshua, Kenai Nahara have become much larger. We need a larger portion of land. But according to the opinion who says that the land was divided up amongst those who entered into the land, then why would Yosef be complaining? After all, again, Yosef should get a portion of the land in accordance with what? His present size. So what's going on? To which the Gemara says, everybody would go ahead and get a portion. To which the Gemara says, no, mishum tfalim tahavi nafish lahu. So this is interesting. Remember, not everybody gets a portion. Who doesn't get a portion? Children. So it could very well be that even if the land was divided up amongst those who came to Eretz Yisrael, and therefore again Yosef was given a portion reflective of his larger size, that's a larger size relative to adults. It could very well be that Yosef is approaching Yoshua and saying, Yoshua, Kenai Nahar, we have a very high birth rate, right? Kenai Nahar, there's a lot of kindalach, Baruch Hashem, a lot of children, and so the land that you've given us is not enough. So therefore not really a proof. If you look at the Rashbam says Mishum Tfalim, it's about halfway in the widest lines. Shahayu Achshav Merubin V'Gavru Yosim Mishar Shvatim V'Hein Lo Natlu El Lecheshbon Shel Yotzi Mitzrayim V'Haisen Nachalas Kol Echad Mu'etaz Michelik Ish Yisrael. So I'm sorry, Mishum Tfalim. Yisomim Shelo Hayu B'nei Esrim B'Chnisasim La'aretz V'Gam Lo Haya Lahem Av Hanichnas La'aretz Shian Chilein V'Chalko Kishayamos. So this is very interesting. So the Rashbam understands that it's not just any children, but rather it's orphan children. The Rashbam says, orphan children, so these were children who were not yet 20 years old when they entered into the land, and ultimately, again, they did not have a father who was entering into the land as well. וגם לא היה להם אב הנכנס לארץ שינחילים חלקו משיימוס וגם לא היה להם שום מוריש שיוצא ממצרים שירשו ממנו על ידי חזרה. So somehow, it's interesting because the Rashbam seems to be saying, the Rashbam is saying that the issue over here is uniquely orphan children. So orphan children, ultimately again, who don't have a father, and apparently again, for some reason, were not in any way connected in a familial fashion to some way to inherit. So for whatever the reason, Yosef had a lot of these types of children, and that's why they were complaining. Okay, to which the Gemara says as follows. Abaye. So Abaye says, so therefore again, just to point out, we tried to bring these cases to support one opinion over the other, but it turned out that they're really inconclusive. So as such, we're still left with our three-way machlokas as to how the land was divided. Was it divided amongst those who left Egypt? Was it divided amongst those who entered into Eretz Yisrael with the retroactive repooling? Right? Or ultimately again, was it divided amongst both? Three machlokes still stands. So the Gemara makes a very interesting observation. The Gemara says, Amar Abaye, Shmamina, lo hava chad lo shakel. You see from here something very interesting, that that halacha l'maisa, there was no one who didn't receive a portion of land. Right? Everyone received something in Eretz Yisrael. How do we know that? Because what do you see from here? Any time where someone wasn't receiving a portion of land, what do they do? They complained. So the fact that the Torah relates to complaints indicates that this was, okay, that there was one case. Essentially, there was one case in Chumash, Tzlav Chad, and one case in Navi, Yosef. So the Rabbi makes an interesting observation. You see from here that there was no one who was left without a portion. For had there been someone who was left without a portion, they would have complained to Moshe Rabbeinu. So kind of working backwards, the fact that there was no complaint indicates to us that there was no person without a portion. The Gemara says, "V'chitema tetzavach va'ahani kasvekra, tetzavach v'lo ahani lo kasvekra." Maybe you say this. No, maybe many people complained. Many people complained. The Torah, right? The Torah or the Psukim only records the successful complaints, right? The people who complained and got what they asked for. But the people who complained and did not get what they asked for, maybe their complaints are just simply not recorded. Not recorded, but perhaps there were many more complaints. The Gemara says, 1 second, that's not true. Look at Bnei Yosef, right? The children of Yosef, they complained to Yoshua, we need a larger portion, but guess what? They didn't get it. They didn't get it. So you see from here that obviously, again, even complaints that weren't successful were recorded. So the Gemara says, no, it's different. The complaint of the children of Yosef was recorded for a different reason. This is fascinating because in that complaint, or I should say, in the response to the complaint, Yoshua went ahead and gave them some very interesting advice. Hasam Eitza Tova Kamash Malon. See, the reason why the complaint is recorded is because, even though it was denied, is Yoshua gave them some very important advice. What was the important advice? That a person has to be very careful from Ayin Hara. From Ayin Hara. Now, we've spoken about Ayin Hara a number of times before, right? So Ayin Hara is, I think, one of the most misunderstood concepts. It's not like a heebie-jeebie, concept that, you have something, someone else doesn't have it, the Akash Baruch Hu is going to take it away from you. Akash Baruch Hu doesn't work that way. At least I don't think Akash Baruch Hu works that way. So what Ayin Hara means like this. Akash Baruch Hu gives us brachas. He gives us brachas. If my bracha becomes a source of pain for someone else, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, that's not why I gave you the bracha, and He removes it from me. So this is why, in general, we always have to be careful with the way we speak about and the way we publicize our brachas. Whether it's the fact that a person is zocha to be married, person is zocha to have children, person is zocha to have money, right? Not everybody has all of those brachos. And so a person has to be very careful about how they talk about those brachos, how they publicize those brachos, because if chas v'shalom a bracha that I have causes pain to someone else because they don't have it, that's ayin hara. Then the Ribbon Shalom says, so that's why I'm giving you a bracha. I'm giving you a bracha so you should make another yid feel bad. So interestingly enough, so what happened over here? So Yosef comes to Yoshua. And Yosef says to Yoshua, it's not fair. Our tribe Kenai Nahara is so big and we don't have enough land. And what does Yosef say? What does Yosef say to them? He says, guys, be careful about how you talk. Yeah, Baruch Hashem, the Ribbon Shalom has benched you that you have a tremendously large tribe. Be careful about how you discuss that bracha. Be more tsanua, be a bit more modest. Try to be a little bit more understated, because again, if that bracha causes pain to the other shvatim, then chas v'shalom you run the risk of losing that very bracha. So the Hainu Dikamri Yoshua Dichsiv. So listen to this. The Hainu Dikamri Yoshua. So what did Yoshua say to them? Dichsiv Vayomer Aleim Yoshua. Imam Ravata, if you are a very large tribe, Alei Lecha Hayara, go up into the forest. Amalu, what do you mean going to the forest? Now Yoshua was saying, okay, so go get more land. In other words, Yoshua was saying to them like this. Number one, I'm not giving you any more of a portion of Eretz Yisrael. What you got is what you got. If you want to go out and conquer more land, go conquer more land. Right? But Lamais, again, I'm not giving any more. But it's interesting. Why does he tell them the forest? Amr lahu, l'chu v'chabu atzmechem bayarim. Maybe go and hide yourself, so to speak, in the forest. Shelo tishlot bachem ayin hara. In order, ultimately, again, that the ayin hara should not devolve high. Now, before you turn the page, take a look at the last Rashbam. The Rashbam says, Yoshua says, I cannot give you any more tribal portion. Right? What you have is what you have. However, I'll give you some good eitzah. If you are really that large, go into the forest. And go into the forest. Now, what's the top of the forest? What's the top of the forest? It's a little bit more private. It's a little bit more private, right? So go ahead, go into the forest, do whatever it is that you need. Do whatever it is that you need to do. Build, expand. I'll say, by the way, there's something also very beautiful in this exchange. You see, it's interesting that what's happening over here. So Bnei Yosef are coming to Yoshua. They're saying, we're a very large tribe. Give us more land. Yoshua says, that's not the way life works. If you want something, go and get it. Go and get it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gets us started. Right? We'll say, in other words, like the way life works is that Ribono Shalom gives us like investment capital. Right? He's like the investment partner. What's the investment capital? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I have a beating heart. I have eyes, I have ears, I have a brain that works, right? Baruch Hashem. So Ribono Shalom says, here's my investment capital, right? I'm investing in you. The problem in life is we wait around for other people to do things for us. And sometimes when we don't succeed, we attribute that lack of success because this one didn't do this, and this one didn't do this, and I was supposed to get this, and I was supposed to receive this. And by the way, you might be right. It could be that everyone in your life was supposed to do all different things to you, and they all failed you. That is quite possible. It is also quite possible that you were owed a variety of different things. Don't wait for other people to do things for you in order to be successful. If you want something out of life, go out and grab it and make it happen. It's such a fascinating exchange. So the tribe of Yosef is saying, we need more land, we need more land. And Yoshua says, Kinelach, here's your portion. You want more? Fight for it. You want more? Go to war. You want more? Clear forests. There's only so many handouts you're going to get in life. I'll get you started, but if you really want to be successful, you need to make it happen for yourself. It is such a tremendous yisod, I will say, and it's one of the things that I think is I remember just the Ma'aseh Shayach. I remember that when I had to start with a rabbinic internship when I started out in the Rabbanos. So actually, I did a rabbinic internship in the Spanish-Portuguese synagogue in Manhattan. A wonderful experience, right? You know what the salary was? Salary? Zero. Because it used to be understood that in life, if there's something much more valuable than a salary, and it's called life experience. And you have to be willing to go ahead and work a little bit before anyone pays you anything. That's the way it works. It's one of the things that I feel like an old man, but I think it's one of the things that's lost on youth, right? Everyone wants that big paycheck, and they want it now, even with zero experience. And everyone feels that they are entitled to and again, I shouldn't say everyone. It's not everyone, but again, it is one of the handicaps of the younger generation, a feeling of like an entitlement to success without really having to work very hard in order to acquire it. So yes, there's investment, there's absolutely investment capital, right? But Lamaisa, at the end of the day, Yoshua says to Yosef, you want more? Go out and get it. You want more? Work hard for it. You want more? Go to war. You want more? Battle for it. Incredible. So what happens? So Yosef says back to Yoshua, Amud Beis, Amrulay. So they say back to Kuf 118b. They say back to him, Amrulay, Anan Mizar de Yosef lo shalta ba'ein abisha. So they said to him, no. We are from Yosef. Ayin Hara has no control over Yosef. Pretty incredible. Now, what does that mean? Dichsev ben Poras Yosef ben Poras ale ayin. V'amar Rabbi Avo al tikri ale ayin ela ol Ole Ayin. So the tribe of Yosef is known as Ole Ayin. Ole Ayin means they rise above the eye. In other words, that Ayin Hara has absolutely no control over the tribe of Yosef. The Rashbam says over here, Oli Ayin. Find Oli Ayin, Hein Olin Al Ha'ayin. The tribe of Yosef, they rise above the eye. V'sholtin alov ve'ein ha'ayin ola alehen. So this is incredible. The tribe of Yosef has control over the Ayin Hara, and the Ayin Hara doesn't have control over Yosef. Incredible. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yosef Chanina Amar Mehacha. Rabbi Yosef Chanina says from here, "V'yidgu larov bekeref haaretz." Right. Remember again, this is by the bracha of Yaakov Avinu to Ephraim and Menashe. So literally, they will proliferate like fish in the midst of the land. Just like again, the fish covered up by the water. Fish covered up by the water. Ein ayin sholetes b'hem. The evil eye has no control over them. Af zaro shel Yosef ein ayin sholetes b'hem. So too again, the offspring of Yosef, Ayin Hara, has no control over them. So what is the pshat over here? What is the pshat over here that Ayin Hara has no control over Yosef, right? So again, I understand the psukim, but what's the pshat? So I will say, so it could very well be, what's the thing in life that is able to combat Ayin Hara the most? Right? What's the opposite of Ayin Hara? Ayin Tova, right? Let's. I think it's a good solid guess. Ayin Tova. Let's say, what was the godless of Yosef? The godless of Yosef was his ability to see the good in people despite the fact that they mistreated him terribly. The greatness of Yosef was that his brothers robbed him of his dignity, robbed him of his clothing, robbed him of his station in life, his position in the family, his future. And yet, amazingly enough, when Yosef was in a position of power and would have absolutely been within his right to exact revenge, what does he do? He uses his position of power to take care of his family, to take care of his brothers. See, I will say, Yosef is the paradigmatic example of Ayin Tova, of what it means to be. And what is he? Remember again, when he goes in and reveals his identity to his brothers, and the brothers go ahead and they're so scared of Yosef, right? They couldn't speak. And what does Yosef say? Yosef says, guys, it wasn't you. It wasn't you. It was HaKadosh Baruch Hu who sent me here. Really? It was Kadosh Baruch Hu? Was Kadosh Baruch Hu who took off your clothing? Was Kadosh Baruch Hu who threw you into a pit? Was Kadosh Baruch Hu who sold you like a piece of property? Was Kadosh Baruch Hu? That's really, it wasn't your brothers? Of course it was the brothers. But Yosef understood that the brothers ultimately, again, were cogs in the wheel of a much greater divine plan. And as such, he was able to see past the pain, and he was able to see the goodness in them, he was able to see the beauty in them, and he was able to once again figure out a way to love them. That's Ayin Tova. When you can see past all of the failures of a person and see their goodness, when you can see past all of the layers of negativity and see beautiful holiness, that's Ayin Tova, good eye. If you are an Ayin Tova Yid, nothing has control over you in this world. The greatest power we possess is what we'll call ocular positivity, Ayin Tova. The ability to see the good in another Jew. Because think about this. What does ocular positivity, Ayin Tova, do? What does it do? It creates Achdus. Achdus, there's no greater power in the world. There is no greater power in the world than Achdus. And right, the whole yisod of Sukkis, right? The Gemara says that Klal Yisrael ruin kol Klal Yisrael leisheh b'sukkah achos. All of Klal Yisrael could sit in one sukkah. In other words, with his achdus, ultimately nothing could defeat us. When there's achdus, we're powerful. But again, how do you have achdus? How do you have achdus? You only have achdus if you have an Ayin Tova, because Jews are really difficult, right? And sometimes Jews could do things that are very upsetting or very annoying or very off-putting, and you have to be able to see past it, and you always have to be able to see the positive. This is the meaning of the Mishnah in Avos, when the Mishnah says, "Hevi mitamidav shel Aaron." You have to be again the disciples of Aaron. Oev shalom v'rodev shalom, oev es habrios u'mekarven laTorah. So what does it mean to be a disciple of Aaron? So again, remember, everybody loves shalom. Normal people love shalom. They love peace. What was you think about Aaron? Aaron was a rodef shalom. He ran after peace. How do you run after peace? How do you run after peace? By constantly and consistently trying to see the good in someone else. That, and sometimes you have to, the Balatanya says, Lashon of Ohev es brios. Brios is like a very generic term for human beings. Bria could even mean like general creations. So the Balatanya says something beautiful. He says, sometimes it's very hard to see something positive in someone. And sometimes the only thing you could see that's positive is, you know what? They walk on 2 legs instead of 4. Well, you know what? If that's what you got, go with it. Go with it. Just find something positive in every single Yid. So again, it's this whole progression. If you find something positive in every single Jew, that means you have the schus of being in possession of an ayin tova, ocular positivity. If you have ayin tova, that creates achdus. And if you are part of the solution, if you are part of the wave of achdus in Klal Yisrael, then nothing has control over you, even ayin hara. Even ayin hara. And that's why Yosef, that's why Yosef, the Shevet of Yosef, no ayin hara is able to devolve upon Yosef, because Yosef was the paradigmatic example of what it means to possess ayin tova. Let's go back. It says in the Gemara, Meraglim, Yoshua v'Kalev natlu chelkam. So remember again, the Meraglim, Yoshua and Kalev went ahead and took their portion. So the Gemara says, remember, this is yesterday's daf, right? The Meraglim, not only did they not enter into Eretz Yisrael, but they forfeited their portion as well, and their portion was taken by Yoshua and Kalev. Minhanim. So from where do you know this? How do you know? I know the Meraglim didn't go into Eretz Yisrael. How do I know that they forfeited their portion and Yoshua and Kalev took it? So the Gemara says, Amar Ula Damar Kra, V'Yoshua ben Nun v'Kalev ben Yefuna chayu min ha'anoshim hahem. So the pasuk says that Yoshua ben Nun and Kalev ben Yefuna lived. They lived from amongst these people. In other words, everyone else died, they lived. The problem is that pasuk is repetitive. The Gemara says, "My chayu, ilim chayu mamish." If it means that literally they lived while the Meraglim died, we already have that. V'ksiv krachrina v'lo nosar mehem ish ki im Kalev ben Yefuna v'Yoshua ben Nun. Pasuk already says that all the Meraglim died except for Kalev ben Yefuna and Yoshua ben Nun. So pasuk already said it. Ela my chayu. So what does it mean? They lived. Shechayu bechelkam. It means they lived in their portion. In other words, that Yoshua and Kalev got the portion, took the portion ultimately again of the Meraglim. Incredible. Mislonenim va'adas korach lo hayalam chilek baretz. So the mislonenim, right? So literally again the complainers and Adas Korach did not have a portion in Eretz Yisrael. So the Gemara says v'hatanya. So we'll say. So by the way, just right now, we know who Adas Korach is. What we don't know is who are the mislonenim. That's not clear to us, so we're going to clarify that in just a moment. But we learn Meraglim Mislonenim Va'adas Korach Yoshua v'Kalev Natu Chelkam. But we learned elsewhere that the Meraglim, the Mislonim and Adas Korach, Yoshua took their portion. Lokashya Mar Makish Mislonim Meraglim Umar Lo Makish Mislonim Meraglim. Okay, so we'll say, so there's 2 different inferences. One opinion compares the Mislonim, the complainers, to the Meraglim, and one doesn't. Desanyo Avinu Meis Bamira. So back to Beno Slavchad. So the pasuk says, right, the daughters of Slavchad say, our father died in the desert. I'm sorry, Avinu Meis Bamirar. So that's Slavchad. This refers to Slavchad. V'hu lo haya b'socha eda. And remember again, the daughters, the girls are telling Moshe, he was not part of the assembly. Which assembly is that? Zeh adas meraglim. That refers to the assembly of the Meraglim. So in other words, they're telling Moshe, our father died, but he wasn't one of the bad guys, right? So he wasn't part of the Meraglim. Hano adim al Hashem, the people again who literally made themselves known, rebelled against Hashem. Elu mislonenim. This refers ultimately again to the complainers. So he wasn't part of the Meraglim. He wasn't part of the complainers. Ba'adas Korach, and he wasn't part of the assembly of Korach. Kimashma'o, exactly like it sounds. So this is very interesting. In other words, the daughters of Tzlafchad were saying to Moshe, Moshe, our father died. Unless you think that he's part of one of the groups who went ahead and forfeited their portion, he wasn't, right? He died in the desert. He wasn't one of the Meraglim. He wasn't one of the Mislonim, and he wasn't part of Adas Korach. So the Gemara says, Mar Makish Mislonim Meraglim. So one opinion compares the Mislonim, the complainers, to the Meraglim, meaning just like the Meraglim lost their portion, so to the Mislonim lost their portion. Umar Lo Makish Mislonim Meraglim. Whereas the other opinion says, no, we don't compare the Mislonim to the Meraglim. And even though the Meraglim lost their portion, the Mislonim did not. From there, Ulaman the Makish Mislonim Meraglim, Echbal Yoshua Vakala V'Yarsalu Kuleri. So we'll say this is great. Now, here's the Gemara's Havamina. The Gemara's Havamina is that who were the complainers? Who are the complainers? Pretty much anyone who ever complained about something in the desert, which is. Both said there was a lot of complaining going on in the desert, right? In other words, the mun, the water, right? A lot of stuff, right? So watch this. So the Gemara says, so you're telling me now that everyone who complained in the desert lost their portion in Eretz Yisrael, and Yoshua and Kalev got that? That would mean that Yoshua and Kalev owned the majority of Eretz Yisrael. If every single person who complained forfeited their portion, and Yoshua and Kalev got it instead of them, that would have to mean that the majority of Eretz Yisrael was owned by Yoshua and Kalev. Amrali, no. Mislonim sheba'adas korach kamina. No. The Mislonim actually are not a separate group, but the Mislonim ultimately again are part of Adas Korach. In other words, that represents ultimately again the extra additional 250 people who kind of latched on to Korach's rebellion. So this Korach Va'adasa, which means like Korach and his inner circle, and the Mislonim were the additional people who joined in the rebellion of Korach. Those are the people ultimately again who lost their portion. Now the other Jews who complained, again, certainly not good, but Lamaisa, they did not lose their portion in Eretz Yisrael. So Rabbi said to Abaye, Bishom Alaman Damar Leyotzim Mitzrayim Nischalka Aretz Hainu Dichsiv Vayiplu Chavle Menashe Asara. All right, so now again, we're still back ultimately again in our original machlokes, right? So remember, we still have our three machlokes. How was the land divided up? So let's just do this last piece and we'll stop for today. So Rabbi says to Abaye, so Bishom Alaman Damar Leyotzim Mitzrayim Nischalka Aretz. See if you go according to the opinion that says that halacha l'maisa, the land was divided up amongst Yotzei Mitzrayim. So then Hainu Dichsiv, this is what it means when it says Vayiplu Chavle Menashe Asara. There were 10 portions that fell to Menashe. 10 portions that fell to Menashe. So we'll say, so how do we know that? Shisa, that number makes sense. Why? Shisa, the Shisa Bati Avos. So 6, because there were 6 Bati Avos. Remember again, each Shevet was comprised of Bati Avos. Bati Avos means like families. So 6 families within Menashe. Va'arba Dido. And ultimately, again, I will say the 4 that were ultimately associated with Salafchad, Ha'asara. Gives you 10. But if you go with the opinion that says that the land was divided up amongst those who came into Eretz Yisrael, then ultimately Timnahava, then there should have only been 8. Dahavu Shisa the Shisa Bati Avos, because there would have been 6 for the 6 Bati Avos. Utrei Didon, only 12 Tzlafchad Hot Timnia, that would give you 8. Ulatamech, and according to your reasoning, according to the opinion that says that the land was divided up amongst those who left Egypt. So the then there should only be 9. So the Gemara says, this is very interesting. Rather, what do you have to say? In order to make up the requisite number, the Gemara says, Chad achad da'aba havalahu. It must have been that there was another uncle. Ultimately again, who benos Tzlafchad were going to inherit as well. So, and by the way, once there's one uncle, it can be just as possible that there were 2 uncles, 2 paternal uncles. Desanya nason titain lahem nachalas avian besoch achi avian. So I say listen this because the pasuk says, "Give them their portion, give them nachalas avian besoch achi avian." This is talking about benos Slavchad. Give benos Slavchad the portion of their father in the midst of the portions of their paternal uncles. Suzu nachalas aviavian. That refers ultimately again to the portion of Chefer, their grandfather. Vavartes nachalas avian lahen, and you shall give the portion of their father to them. Zu chelek bechora. Ultimately again, that refers to Slavchad's firstborn portion. So the Benos Slavchad even took a portion of their paternal uncle. Shneimar nason titain. Ultimately again, give to them, double lashon. L'man Amar Shrei Achi Da'aba Havalu. So the Gemara says, Hahu me'achuzas nachala nafka. So ultimately, again, and according to the opinion that says that there were two paternal brothers, he learns it out from the pasuk of achuzas nachala. So we'll stop over here for today. We're going to Mirat Hashem. We're going to finish up. We'll finish up this sugya of nachalas Eretz Yisrael Mirat Hashem tomorrow. Get a little bit of tomorrow or the next day. Get a little bit more clarity. But the truth is, okay, it's okay. It's a schus Baruch Hashem just to be able to dwell within Eretz Yisrael, right? Again, a schus Baruch Hashem to be able to learn about Eretz Yisrael, the vision of Eretz Yisrael, and the sugyas. Osai shkoyach. All right, Chavra on Zoom. Have a wonderful day. A good night. Yehuda, a good night. Good to see you.